So we're just about 2 weeks away from this year's NFL Scouting Combine, where scouts, coaches, and all that will get a chance to take a look at all these players that they are considering drafting this season. And it's a good time for us to look at mock drafts. There's already been a couple that have popped off, the Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, and it's going to be a big time. There's going to be, mock draft 3.0, 2.0, 4.0. There's going to be so many that we're going to have to take a look at and try to dissect to get a good feeling of what the Minnesota Vikings might be doing in not only the first round, but the second round as well, which is what we're going to dive into today. Another mock draft where basically it's a 2-round mock, but we're only going to talk about the Vikings picks in this year's draft. No trading, no nothing like that. We have pick number 11 in the first round and pick number 42 in the second round. And these guys that are selected to the Minnesota Vikings, I actually really like. There's a big-time shocker in the first round. The second round, it makes you go, okay, so what are we going to do after the fact? So let's get right into it. Before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It'd be much appreciated. So let's talk about this 2-round mock draft that I just happened to stumble upon. It starts off by saying, with the conclusion of the Super Bowl, all 32 NFL teams have shifted their focus to the offseason and, more importantly, the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, DraftWire's Kurt Popejoy took this opportunity to drop his 2-round mock draft filled with new faces for football fans to get excited about. Now, Popejoy decided to forego the quarterback position for the Minnesota Vikings and take the Swiss Army knife out of Iowa cornerback Cooper DeJean with the 11th overall pick. This is what he said about that pick. He said, "This could be a spot where the Vikings shock everyone and take a quarterback, but instead we go with something a little safer in Iowa do-it-all defensive back Cooper DeJean." Now, DeJean would be a seamless fit in Brian Flores' defense. Flores used players throughout the secondary, Harrison Smith, Byron Murphy Jr., Mekhi Blackman, Josh Metellus, etc., in various spots all around the field. Now, DeJean's athleticism gives him the ability to be yet another chess piece for Flores to use to confuse opposing quarterbacks. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, Popejoy sees an opportunity to take a shot at the future franchise quarterback in that second round and doesn't let it pass. With the 42nd overall pick, Minnesota takes Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. At 42, no matter if Kirk Cousins returns, the value of a possible franchise quarterback is too much to ignore at the top of the second round. Now, Washington made it to the national championship game this year, mostly behind their explosive offense led by Michael Penix, okay? Now, while there are some injury concerns, 2 ACL injuries and 2 dislocated shoulders, if he becomes a Viking, he would have a great chance to thrive under Kevin O'Connell and the weapons in this offense. So when I seen this 2-round mock draft, I said, I like it. I really do. Because look, a lot of us want to focus on the defensive side of the ball in that first round, which is exactly what this mock draft did, right? Taking a Swiss Army knife defensive back. He's not even listed as like a corner or a safety. He's literally can play anywhere in the secondary. He'd be a perfect fit for Brian Flores. We talked just before Brian Flores got hired, or when he did get hired, that he likes versatility. He likes somebody that can play all position and do it at a high caliber type of level, which I think is what Cooper DeJean can do. He can play the nickel. He can be the safety. He can be a corner. He can man up on the number 1 guy, man up on the number 2 guy. He's literally, like it said, a Swiss Army knife. I like that pick. Now, I'm not sure if he's the best corner in the draft. A lot of people are saying it's like Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, I do believe. But still, when you're looking at a guy that can do it all and help you out in all phases of the game, I think Cooper DeJean is a good pick. And then you're looking at that quarterback position where we're really uncertain of the future of Kirk Cousins with the Minnesota Vikings. Are we going to re-sign him? Are we not going to re-sign him? If we do re-sign him, still drafting Penix to learn behind him, I think would be a very smart decision. Just because then maybe you could trade Kirk Cousins unless there's a no trade clause in his new contract or something like that. Or you could eventually just let Kirk Cousins play out the rest of his contract, and bam, you put Michael Penix in. He's a star. But if you don't sign Cousins, we get a fresh start. We get a chance to see if we have a franchise quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years, which I think is something that us as Minnesota Vikings fans have been kind of waiting for. I mean, we've had some good quarterbacks, right? Kirk Cousins is one of them. You can consider him a franchise guy, but when I look at a franchise guy, I'm thinking of a guy that's here for a very long time. Somebody that when we look at, cut days and looking at our roster of what pieces do we need, and you look at that quarterback position, you say, we're good there. We are just fine. We have the quarterback of the future, of our team, of our franchise. We don't even need to focus on quarterback. The most we need to do is go pick up a backup just in case he gets hurt. And that's the one big thing about Michael Penix is his injury history and what's going to happen with him when he gets to the NFL, which is another reason to be cautious, right? He steps in the NFL. It's kind of like Anthony Richardson going 4 overall to the Colts. Gets hurt in 4 out of the 5 games, then he's out for the rest of the season. Has to get shoulder surgery, I do believe it was. So like, it's a risk I think you're willing to take. So this guy, Pope Joy, basically has the Minnesota Vikings taking Cooper DeJean, defensive back out of Iowa, with the 11th overall pick, and then Michael Penix Jr. in that second round with the 42nd overall pick. So you guys can let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks. And Skol Vikes.